Hello and welcome to the Big Ideas Show. I'm Lee Batchelor and today my guest is Bridget Chapman from KRAN, which is Kent Refugee Action Network. Hello Bridget, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So can you tell us in a nutshell, what is it that you do at KRAN?
KRAN is an organisation that works across Kent with people who've arrived as unaccompanied asylum-seeking children.
Okay, brilliant. We're going to be hearing more about that and the great work you do there after these titles. Thank you for joining us here on the Big Ideas Show. This is the show where we get to hear the behind the scenes and inspiring stories from local people. I have to start by saying a big thank you to everyone involved in the show, to the Glass Whiteboard Company who are our sponsors, to the Grand here in Folkestone for being our hosts, and to everyone who's contributed. But without further ado, let's meet our guest for today, Bridget. Hello.
Hi.
So, Bridget, you told us very briefly at the very beginning what it is that KRAN does. Can you tell us just a little bit more about how that works on a day-to-day basis, some of the things that you do?
Well, when people arrive in Kent as unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, they're usually around the age of 15, 16. And what happens to young boys is that rather than being put into foster care or supported lodging, a few of them are put into a house together and essentially kind of left to get on with it. So, as you might expect with any group of teenagers left to their own devices in a house without adult supervision from any background, things don't always go smoothly. And what we aim to do is to put everything into place to enable them to be happy and successful in their accommodation, and to make sure that we facilitate pathways into education or whatever it is that they want to do.
Okay, and I do want to hear more about that and kind of how you put some of that into action. But before that, I want to hear more about your story, because how I came to meet you was because a number of people said, when I said, who would you like me to see me interview? And you came up a number of times. So you've clearly had an impact on local people in the community. So I want to hear your story. What was it you were doing before you came to be working for KRAN?
I was a teacher in a London secondary school, working. I started as an English teacher, a straightforward English teacher, and very quickly realised that the students I particularly felt that I made an impact with, or had a bond with the people who didn't have English as a first language. The secondary school I was working at was Pimlico, right in the middle of London. We had 60 different languages spoken in the school. And I moved into specialising as an English as an additional language teacher. And from there, started working with a number of students in our population who were refugees, realising that there was a particular set of issues that meant that they had barriers to succeeding, perhaps, and got really interested in that. When I moved to Folkestone, I was just determined to find a way to work with the local, human beings that also happen to have refugee status. Yeah. So I found a job with KRAN. It was part-time to start off with. I've been there 4 years now. I'm full-time, and I love what I do. Okay.
That's really nice. And what is it that you kind of really enjoy the most about what it is you do? I know you said you enjoy working with people, the diverse languages, but kind of, what are some of the maybe highlights for you about what you get to do on a day-to-day basis?
The young people I work with, first of all, they're just amazing. I mean, they're just the most resourceful, brilliant set of young people, and they make me laugh all of the time. No day is dull, it might be tiring, it might be emotional, it might be many things, but they're hilariously funny. I also find it's really quite inspiring working with them, because if I've come in, friends will tell you, I often am a grumpy old git. I'll come in and no matter what has happened to them, they are cheerful, positive, and ready to kind of seize every opportunity that's put in front of them, and it does make you think, Bridget, pull yourself together. Yeah. So that is fantastic to be able to work with that kind of group of people that make you feel like that.
Yeah, definitely. Has it given you a new insight into kind of, I guess, maybe how you deal with problems and when a tough time comes up to, as you said, pull yourself together?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think I'm getting better at it, but I still think I've got a lot to learn from them and the way that they deal with stuff.
Okay, that's really nice that it's not just, you know, the knowledge and advice and support, but it goes both ways, doesn't it?
Oh no, I learn far more from them than they learn from me, I'm telling you.
Okay, that's awesome. So what are some of the stories or kind of insights you can give us about some of the people, not having to name names, but that stand out for you?
We've had young people arrive that, no matter how bright you are academically, you know, no matter how good you are at science in your first, you know, maybe you speak Arabic at home, you're really good at science, you're top of your class. But if you're coming to the UK and you're trying to access those subjects and English isn't your first language, where your language is at and where your cognitive ability are different, and it takes a huge amount of work. And I'm thinking of a couple of students that have really gone that extra mile to mean that they've gone from, you know, speak English as a first language to being able to access university level education, which is a really fantastic achievement.
Do a lot of them come to you kind of with that ambition, like, yes, I want to get to uni, or is it something that you support them in having that drive and going, no, you can kind of get your language to that level where you can go to uni?
They've pretty much all come here because they want to get an education. Yeah. That's a really big driving force in why people have come. They want to build a life for themselves, they want to build a better life, and education's a really key part of that. Not everybody wants to go to university, and it's not right for everybody, but whatever it is that they want to do, university education is a big part of it. So we'll talk to them about what it is, where they want to get to, and try and put in a set of steps and support so that they can get from there to over there. Yeah,
definitely. And do they ever come back and visit kind of after they've moved on, got great jobs?
Yeah, I mean, once they're in the KRAN family, so to speak, they're kind of with us forever. We might not see them for a long time, and usually no news is good news. They normally pop back if there's an issue, but then they will pop back occasionally because they've got something to celebrate. You know, somebody's been struggling to get refugee status for a while. Look, I've got my card, I've got my travel document, I'm free to travel. Look, I got a certificate from college, I've got my university place, you know, so that's really fantastic when they come and share that kind of stuff with us.
Yeah, it's really inspiring, and I love hearing those positive stories, and like you said, education being right at the core of it all. So I want to hear a little bit more about how that works and the practical side really of the work that you do. We're going to have a quick break now, and we'll be chatting a bit more after that. Welcome back. I'm still here with Bridget from KRAN, and Bridget, I love hearing the stories, and as I said at the very beginning, the fact that so many people kind of nominated you, I think I had to start with your story really, but I want to go a bit more in depth now about the work that you actually do at KRAN and how that looks on a day-to-day basis really, why it's so important, but also kind of some of the challenges and some of the things that you want to put out there. So tell me a little bit more about the work you do day to day and why it's so important.
We work in a number of different ways. So we have an education project which teaches English and life skills. Life skills because if you are a teenager, you're here and you don't necessarily know about budgeting your money, about timekeeping. God knows I struggle with that. I was saying earlier on, you know, I'm 47 years old, English is my first language, I struggle to know what goes in what bin. It's like a mystery, especially with the recycling. But, you know, healthy relationships, all of those kind of things. We had students that had been sat in the dark for a couple of days because they didn't realise that the reason the electricity had gone was because the fuse had flipped. And all they had to do was to put that. So it's those kind of basic things that normally mum or dad would have helped with. But we do that because they're on their own in accommodation. And through that we learn English. So we do a lot of cooking, and obviously through cooking you're reading instructions, you are listening to things, you are doing some maths, you know, you can write about it afterwards. So you're learning English through all of those things. So we do life skills and we do English lessons, and our aim is to get them into statutory education. We also do mentoring, which I think you're going to talk about in a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
And we do advocacy and support work, so that if people have got specific issues, which a lot of them do, with asylum, with issues with their accommodation, all sorts of different problems, they can come to us and we can try and unpick those issues with them.
Yeah, So what are some of the main challenges? I guess that's for the students, pupils themselves. I guess within being able to deliver this, you mentioned about mentors. I assume you have people but who kind of donate their time.
Yeah.
I guess, is that how it normally works? But on a kind of wider issue, what is it, some of the ideas and messages that you want to get out about these young people?
There's so many myths, I think, about the young people we work with. People think that they live in really luxurious housing. I can assure you it's exceptionally basic. I mean, really quite grim in some instances. They have a very limited amount of money. They're not allowed to work until they've got refugee status. A lot of the young people we work with, because of what we call the hostile environment, the government makes it extremely difficult to get refugee status, especially if you're from a country like Afghanistan, because they say that it's safe for Afghanistan, safe for people to return to Afghanistan, which of course it isn't. I mean, if you or I want to travel there, the travel advice would be, you can't go, it's not safe. And because of that, young people often get refused and then accepted on the third or the fourth occasion. It's a long period of time where their mental health suffers, they don't really know where they stand, and for periods of time they can be borderline destitute because support can be withdrawn from them, financial support, but you're not allowed to work either. So that's a big barrier to being successful in your life. If you don't really know what's happening, and there are periods of time where somebody says, actually, you know what, we're taking your accommodation away, we're taking your benefits away, but we're not going to allow you to work either, and we're not going to allow you to access education. So there's some real challenges for these young people.
Yeah, I can imagine it's hard enough for kind of, I guess, young people living in the UK with a family, I guess, from a mental health point of view, and we hear lots about it in the news, don't we? But to be in a country that you know, not your native language. Especially
if, and a lot of the young people I work with, I would say most of them are suffering from some form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, either from the countries they've come from because they're war-torn, or because of the journey that they've taken. They're often, the journeys are facilitated by people smugglers. People are open to being, physically abused, sexually abused, starved, beaten. I know we don't want to go in perhaps too much into that, but it's a really, really difficult and traumatic journey for them. So there's all sorts of issues going on, and then with that level of uncertainty on top of that, makes life really difficult. Yeah, I bet. So I want to hear now about the mentors. You mentioned that you work a lot with mentoring, and that's kind of one of the key things that you provide to them, and it sounds like it's something that is really needed. Kind of who and how do people support? Are they members of your team, or are they kind of anyone? Anybody can volunteer to be a mentor. We match the young. We've got somebody who is, their job is the mentor manager, and they look at the people that have been applying to be mentors and look at the young people that we've got and try to match people with similar interests. So if we've got a young person that says that they're really interested in architecture and somebody who's come along who's an architect, we'll try and match them up because there's a lot of shared interest for a start. But there was also possibly opportunities for developing them in their career and giving them the support they need to be successful in their chosen field. Oh, that's really nice. And do you have any kind of the stories or matches, I guess, that have gone well in terms of mentors? We heard your lovely story. Do you hear anything from the mentors about, I guess, what they get by being able to contribute their time? Yeah, people find it really rewarding. Yeah. I mean, it develops really organically. You never quite know what's going to come out of it. Unexpected things happen, but we've got mentors that have taken young people, been with them on their journey right through to university, and I am sure that without their input, it would have been harder for those young people to be as successful. They always had that potential, but having somebody in your corner, fighting your corner, really makes a difference. Yeah, I imagine it must be very lonely kind of when you first come over here, but to have someone, exactly as you said, on your side, fighting your corner, must be really amazing. I think it really, really helps. And we're talking about 1 or 2 hours a week. People are given training. There's even a budget so that you can take somebody out for a coffee. So, if people feel that they've got something to offer, they should totally get in touch because we can use them. Okay, absolutely. So if people do want to get involved or want to find out more, where can they find that out? If they go to our website, which is www.KRAN.org.uk, and look at Get Involved section, that'll give you all of the details that you need.
Brilliant. Bridget, it's been wonderful chatting. Thank you so much. And yeah, good luck. I hope lots of people out there kind of get involved, because it sounds like you've got a wonderful amount of joy from being able to do what you do. So hopefully
I'm very lucky.
You can. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And thank you out there for tuning in to the Big Ideas Show. And if you have someone like Bridget that you maybe would like to nominate, that you should be in this hot seat because they are doing great work in the community, then please do get in touch. It's the Big Ideas Show on all the socials. I also just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has contributed and makes the Big Ideas Show possible. Our hosts for tonight are the KRAN here in Folkestone. We have the Glass Whiteboard Company, who are our sponsors, and of course all our contributors and crew. It's a big old crew. We have Hannah, Maddie, we have Gary, and we have Hax from Prisma Broadcast, Aaron from 6-2, and Warren from Flourish. So big thank you to them. Big thank you to Bridget, and thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.